Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Nutty Plim event. Today, we are celebrating squirrels in all shapes and forms, in all their nuttiness, by talking about the Nut House. Yay! The
Yay.
the Nut House is all about squirrels and nuttiness and cosmic horror and body horror and criminals in squirrel form. I'm here with a squirrel to chat about this. Now, this event is super exciting. This book is releasing June 6th, so it's coming up pretty fast. The author, Patrick Barb, did not show up today. This is the second one of my events he's not shown up for. My God.
He's pretty nuts, that guy. He's
Yeah,
a joke,
yeah,
for
he
let's
is
say.
pretty
It's
nuts.
a joke like oak. That's
Oh, I
what the
see.
squirrel
Joke,
uses.
but
Yeah.
oak, an oak tree like where
You know how it goes.
squirrels might reside.
Ah,
Ha ha ha, squirrel, you got it. Um, yeah, Patrick not showing up to my events is pretty embarrassing. It is true. I actually heard once that he was hosting an online virtual panel for Stoker and also did not show up to
nope.
that. It was
That's
weird.
what I heard too.
Yeah. Matt says I drove all the way to Minneapolis today just for this, and P-Barb is not even here. Exactly. P-Barb is just not showing up to things. Maybe he's having a drink with Carson. We don't know. It's interesting that the squirrel is literally the same spot that Barb sits in when conducting interviews. Yes, that's interesting. I think perhaps P-Barb maybe left a window open and the squirrel got in. Squirrels are pretty smart. They've got like very like nimble fingers and nails. Squirrel, how did you get into P-Barb's office?
It's a nice day here in Minnesota. It's really kind of nice and cool, and he had the window open, and he just popped right in there.
Um, I have two people positing that perhaps you ate Patrick and stole his life, a bit of identity theft. Is that correct? Can you confirm or deny?
I mean, look at me. I'm clearly a giant squirrel. So my diet usually consists of nuts and
And
berries and other things like that.
human
But
flesh?
guys got to eat.
Fair, fair. You got to get those iron tablets maybe instead of eating people. But even though he's not here, I'll do a little intro for Patrick Barb. Rest in peace in your belly, I guess. So Patrick Barb is an author of weird, dark, and spooky stories, hailing from the southern United States and currently living and trying not to freeze to death with his wife, two kids, and a naughty but lovable puppy in St. Paul, Minnesota. As a writer, his short fiction appears in Best Horror of the Year, Volume 16, Night Script, Diabolical Plots, and Cosmic Horror Monthly, among other publications. His longer works include the novellas Gargantuana's Ghost, Turn, J.K. Lowell, and Night of the Witch Hunter, and The Nut House, coming out soon. Yay! Cyan says, I think we need a bigger nut for this giant squirrel. You don't know how big this squirrel's nuts are. Okay, let's not posit that yet. Um, where was I? I got confused about the nuts. But yes, I mean, he's not here. We don't even have to talk about him if you think about it. But yes, so all of his stuff is out there. I'm going to share some of his socials, even though he's not here, plus the pre-order for the Nut House. Maybe wait until the end to pre-order it, just because you will have a chance to win a paperback of it today. We're doing 3 giveaways. Each book may or may not come with a package of nuts and a book plate. We don't know yet. But again, the Nut House is releasing June 6th. And now, a squirrel. I have your bio here.
Yeah, what's it
So,
say?
so squirrel is a hider of nuts, a collector of nuts, a cracker of nuts, climber of trees,
Yeah.
um, a scratcher of sidings, scrambler of roofs, a thiever of goodies. And you apparently are a eater of Patrick Barb's. So we're gonna do a
Mm.
little interview if that's okay, since you're
Yeah,
here.
sure. Lay it on me. I'm a fucking squirrel. What do you got? What do you want to know?
Exactly. Well, okay. So what are the squirrels' plan for world domination?
Well, you see, here's the thing. There are squirrels on a lot of continents, but
Hmm.
especially in North America,
But not
people have gotten
Ireland.
really used to us in the neighborhoods.
Hmm.
We're around, we're in the trees, but we're also around your houses. You get used to it.
Mhm.
You accept us. Next thing you know, we're inside your house. We're eating you. We're giant squirrels. Um, some of us aren't so big. Anyway, there's a lot of us, and that's all I'll say about that. We got some plans.
Perfect. So how many oh, Rebecca says please don't eat her dog or
Okay,
or
go.
steal?
I don't mess with dogs. I'll tell you that much.
Okay, don't mess with dogs. What about cats? Are cats safe generally?
Uh, yeah, I don't trust cats either.
Yeah.
Dogs, I'm afraid of. Cats, I don't trust.
Yeah. Eric McHatton says, boy, if Carson had written a book with this title, being The Nut House, it would have been very different. Yeah, that's true. That is
Yeah,
very true.
that's the after dark version. That's what we like to
Yeah.
call that one. Us
After
squirrels are asleep by then.
it's up on his OnlyFans, says Matt. Yeah, probably. Okay, so at and there's like that stat that at in a night a human will eat an average or like in their lifetime a human will eat an average of eight spiders in their life. So can you give us an average of how many squirrels are probably in an individual's house right now watching us?
Oh gosh. Um, let's see. In this house alone, there's my uncle Larry, cousin George, grandma Georgina, and Philip. There's Desmond, and I don't know what is that. Five, six, seven,
Yeah,
seven
something about
squirrels.
that. Yeah.
How many rooms are in the house? I don't even know.
Yeah, you're a
We got so
squirrel.
much space.
Yeah.
And we have in a tree. We live in a tree. You know what that's like?
No, I've never lived in a tree.
And we don't have TV. I'll tell you that much.
Well,
We
what
don't
if you
have
had a tree
Zoom.
house with electricity? Have you thought
Yeah,
about maybe
when
getting
we call
into
Zoom is when we zoom across the street and then back right when the car's coming.
fair? Cyan says their house has chipmunks. Do you get along with chipmunks as a species?
And there's it's testy relationships, let's say. There is a chipmunk in this Nut House book, as I understand, that Patrick has written, but you'll have to read that and find out, I suppose.
Yeah.
What am I? I'm a
Um,
fucking squirrel here, guys. I don't know. That's what I heard.
so how many, this is really important. How many squirrels does it take to kill a shoggoth?
One, but like a really big one.
Okay, like your size or bigger?
Bigger. Gotta be
Okay,
bigger,
damn,
right?
damn, that's a big
Yeah,
squirrel.
it's like I'm like a squirrel like H.P. Lovecraft thinks penguins look like,
No, that is
basically.
fair, yeah. Hmm. And last question, what is your favorite nut?
Hmm, that's another good question. Gosh, what are you doing this for professional things or something? Um, obviously acorns are that's the cliche, right? But really, I mean, any kind of tree nut will do. Um, myself, I'm a fan of the pecan.
Classy.
What I like to do is wait till like somebody has a pie on a windowsill, and then I steal it. That's what I do. That's my thing. I like pie and nuts.
Perfect. Francis, another insensitive question. Why does the squirrel have his headphones not on his ears? This squirrel doesn't know how to use technology. He just told us.
How's that? You happy?
Wow. This poor squirrel's doing his best. Patrick didn't even show up. Are you... I did you steal Patrick's phone too?
I sure did.
Are you
Go through all
texting
his contacts.
Francis? It's okay. We still love you. Even though you said my face looks like a mask, it's fine. Um, I mean, imagine if it was like funny if like I did just like pull off my face and it was a mask this whole time. Um, so you have offered to do the reading for us
That's
since
right.
Patrick isn't here. So let's go ahead and do the first giveaway first, and then we'll jump into the reading since you've been kind enough. So everyone hit us instead of drums this time we're gonna do nuts. There's nuts in the emoji thing, right? Nut. Yes, there is peanuts. So everyone give peanuts. Peanuts in chats while I do this giveaway. Yes, that's right, Francis. I love your nuts, Francis. I'm glad I recorded that. That's great. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and roll this. Nut party. Yes, that's a lot of nest. And the wheel says, um, Steve Pate? Steve Pate?
Ah, good job.
Yay, Steve! I am so sorry if I fucked up your name. Okay, I'm gonna write your name down really fast. Patty. Okay. I guess that should have been obvious with the spelling. Yeah, L, that's why, yeah, that's why you don't get an applause because you didn't give up your nuts. All right. Oh, and winners, I will connect you with Patrick, Barb, or Squirrel after the event using the email you used to register, and then you can provide your shipping address and get your Creighton of nuts. I am gonna holler at you, L. All right. So congrats, Steve, for being the first winner. You are getting a paperback with a book plate, I believe the publisher is doing, so we'll have a signature in there. The nuts, I don't know. You'll have to ask the publisher if they're going to be providing nuts. Now,
All right.
um, yeah, great nuts giveaway. Absolutely. Congrats. And now Squirrel is going to read from the Nut House as best to his ability, considering he is a squirrel, probably not used to the human language. So everyone
Nope.
give a round of nuts for Squirrel. You can do it, Squirrel.
Okay, here we go. I'm told here that this is from the prequel novelette that's in the book, the Acorn one. So here we go. Start.
You think I don't know death? I watched my older brother get eaten whole by a wayward seagull. Frankie, he was one of the fastest gray squirrels I'd ever seen. He'd scramble down a tree, dig up an acorn stash, jam them all in his cheeks, and rocket back up the trunk before most animals got out a single peep from the lower lying branches. That was easy for him. But easy was never what Frankie wanted. He would much rather show off. He was always the one doing a little dance, standing on his back paws, bulging cheeks stuffed full of nut meat like he was a goddamn chipmunk. Seagull walked away, way off course, probably traveling farther inland than it had ever been, all tired and hungry to come across Frankie making a fool of himself on the forest floor. Must have seemed like a blessing from the sea. Damn black-eyed monster, its molting feathers stinking of salt. I want to tell you I warned Frankie. I want to say I screamed his name, or better yet, tell you I ran down and dragged him to safety. I want a lot of things, but we're not always so lucky. I watched as Frankie met that white feathered head and the gaping maw opening wider, wider, and wider still. Then the bird tossed its head back and Frankie lost any chance he might have had to run. Soon his back paws and tail were twitching while the rest of him slid down that seagull's gullet. A sharp cracking sound followed, likely the bird flexing and breaking my brother's neck. A mercy for Frankie, but not so much for me. The noise woke up every other critter that called the oak home. They were chittering and chirping, roaring and screaming all at once. Frankie's death brought us together. It might have been the last thing that did. The damn bird looked up at the oak, confused as to how a whole tree could get so mad at it. Stomach sagging, it flapped once, twice, then got off the ground and flew away between the trees. And that was that. At least as far as my brother and the bird were concerned. Me, I wasn't so lucky. You see, Frankie had done something very, very bad. The acorn stashes under the oak weren't meant to be touched, not until the colder months. Violating that rule was bad enough. But then you throw in whose stash it was that he'd ripped off, jamming the acorns in his cheeks, cheeks that were now being digested in the guts of a seabird. Those nuts belonged to the fox squirrels. Reynard was the leader of the fox squirrels and the scariest animal living in our oak tree at the time. Not ugly scary, though, far from it. Monsieur Reynard, as he preferred to be called, was quite the representative of his kind. His fur was sleek, almost wet-looking. He smelled of pine despite living in the oak, had long ears and a long body, too. He had an intimidating presence, I believe you'd call it. And he wasn't violent scary either, not like a mad dog foaming at the mouth or Raccoons that'll corner victims and rip out their guts. And it's not to say Reynard didn't have the capacity for violence. He most certainly did. But he worked under cover of darkness, a ruthlessly efficient executioner. If a critter crossed him, they'd be fine during the day. Then night would come and they'd be gone by the time the sun rose at dawn. Some of the older gray squirrels, my uncles, would joke that Reynard had actual fox lineage in his blood. Papa never stood for that talk, though, so I only heard those quips when he wasn't around. Papa was a good squirrel who believed in all the talk about us animals working and living together. Though believe might be too strong a word. Call it hope for. Because he recognized when threats were present and dangers were real. Losing the fox squirrel stash had made us graze their number one enemy. With the actual culprit gone, quite literally, to the heavens, the blame fell on Frankie's family. That meant Papa, and it also meant me. We became the targets of the fox squirrel's wrath. Suddenly, I'd become the heir apparent to an empire. Me, the timid one. The one who hid under leaves on the forest floor. Who dig deeper and deeper at the first whiff of danger until I get all turned around under the leaf cover, unable to figure out which ways were up, down, or sideways. In those moments of panic, I'd scream and cry, and my big brother would have to dive into the hole I'd made, dragging me back to the surface where Papa was waiting, shaking his head. No more rescuing for me, though. Frankie was dead and I'd moved up, the next in line. It was easy to see that development didn't sit well with Papa. He called me to near the top of the oak, a place hidden amid a tangle of leaf-filled branches. I was scared just climbing up there. The whole time I was climbing, one paw in front of the other. I imagined what Papa would have to say, how he'd dress me down in front of the uncles, what names he'd call me. I suppose having those familial fears running through my brain helped in the long run because it gave me something to pass the time with while I made steady progress upward. By the time I reached Papa's branches and found the 5 fox squirrels balanced on limbs to either side of my path, 3 to one side and 2 on the other, I was numb with self-inflicted anxiety. A little more fear didn't matter all that much. Papa waited on a separate branch, with Monsieur Reynard beside him. Both their tails were held stiff and at attention, both their noses wrinkled, sniffing the air with unmistakable insistence. It was clear neither trusted the other. But what could I even do about that? I remember thinking. Before I found an answer, Papa filled me in on the mission, the job. Call it what you like. For me, the lone gray squirrel going out on a search and recovery mission with a bunch of pissed off fox squirrels, there was only one thing I knew to call it, a death sentence. He said, outside of this forest, they've started building dens. Monsieur Reynard and his fox squirrels here had scouts. Scouts out, keeping tabs on things, seeing what they're doing, how they are trying to live. I must begrudgingly offer compliments on this foresight. I would have hoped Monsieur Reynard and his cohort might share this intelligence with all of us oak tree denizens. But you and your brother have made sure certain such alliances are delayed for the moment. Yes, for the foreseeable future at least. Lucky for us, and you, an exception has presented itself. We have an opportunity to move along the path to reconciliation and continued coexistence. Call it a matter of convenience. First, the fox squirrels have lost their cash for winter. While I've offered to share from our stores, pride, well, that is how I see it at least, prevents our cousins from accepting what they deem charity. Instead, they've identified an alternative source for acorns that would serve as an adequate replacement for what was lost. It would seem they have false trees outside a number of their dwellings, trees meant to lure birds and our kind, and each contains a rich bounty of seeds and nuts. That is the rumor, at least. A group of the fox squirrels will leave the forest, venture to those nests, and return with the bounty. You will accompany them, serving as the representative of the gray squirrels. For this year, the fox squirrels alone will enjoy the fruits of this labor, but you will mark the location and the best path to reach it. That way, both fox and gray squirrels will possess this knowledge, and neither group will have an advantage over the other. Papa was long-winded by nature and design. Mama would say he'd achieved power within the gray squirrel ranks by talking his way into it, refusing to cede the floor once he'd started. Eventually, any challengers would tire of waiting, hoping in vain to get a word in edgewise. Monsieur Reynard will accompany you and his crew. He is aware of the consequences should any harm befall you. The elder fox squirrel smiled, cheeks pulled back to show jagged teeth like broken rocks. Not to worry, Gray, Reynard said, addressing Papa, but keeping his blackened eyes on me. We'll take good care of him. I gripped the thin branch I balanced on even tighter, worrying I'd pass out and plummet to the forest floor. I couldn't believe Papa would subject his heir to such a likely trap. Despite his professed confidence in my safety, as some bargaining chip to keep the peace, the opportunity for revenge from the fox squirrel seemed too perfect. It certainly wasn't something that Frankie would have passed up. Don't worry, little pup, Reynard said, seemingly reading my mind. If we wanted to kill you, we'd do it here and now.
And that's all he had. That's all that I got for you.
Amazing. Elle says, no cash, no problems. Eric is concerned that you didn't blink the whole time.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I'm not feeling so good, guys.
Oh no. Oh, I think unfortunately Squirrel maybe got some poison nuts, or maybe nuts too big for his gullet gargling purposes. I know, poor a squirrel. Rip. May we remember him in all his glory. Did his best to read for us, even though he didn't know the written language in which this book was written. Again, June 6th, The Nut House. That's the prequel novelette included in it. So, R.I.P. Squirrel. R.I.P. Freaky Squirrel. Absolutely. Just, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right. Well, while we wait for, either Squirrel to come back or somebody else to come, perhaps somebody who's late, or whatnot. But I shall do the second giveaway. So everyone, show me your nuts. I don't regret saying that. Maybe this is recorded, so that's interesting. Coconuts, Yes, thank you, Henry. Oh my God, Patrick, what are you doing here? Oh, are you muted? Unmute yourself.
You guys are not going to believe this. There
Oh my
was
God.
a squirrel
Yeah.
in here. He stole my clothes,
He
obviously.
stole your clothes, yeah.
And he made me log into his account because he said, you'll never figure out how to change your name on here. And I said, you better believe it, buddy.
Damn, that squirrel really just bamboozled you.
He was like, you think it's the 3 dots up in the corner, but apparently it's not.
No, it's usually when you right click your face.
Ah,
You right click yourself and then you click rename at the bottom of the drop down.
see, that squirrel, he was,
Yeah, he bamboozled
he's dead
you.
now. He died,
What the fuck? You
unfortunately.
killed the squirrel?
No. The pressure of performing killed him.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, he had to learn the language pretty fast. Oh yeah, Teresa says, so glad you weren't actually eaten. We're like maybe like thinking that he may have eaten you
Yeah,
or
the
something,
squirrels
murdered
talk
you.
a big game.
Yeah. Well, I was just about to do um the second giveaway. You missed the first one.
Ah,
Yeah, so that's kind of sad.
well,
Um yeah, it was Steve Patty one. Patty, if I'm saying that right again. But we're about to do the second one, so give me those nuts again.
heck yeah. Nut
Yeah,
it
the
up,
squirrel's
folks.
nut cracked under pressure. It's true. All right. And our winner is another name I'm gonna mess up. Henry Belada? Belada? Belada. Blada. Henry, congrats. I probably brutal. I feel like if I just say last names in as many different ways as possible, then eventually I'll get it right and then I can say I got it right. But congrats, Henry. I will reach out to you after the event and put you in touch with either the squirrel or Patrick, not a squirrel. And then we can get you your book and all that fun stuff. Yay! Patrick, you're back.
Heck yeah, congrats. And I'm not a squirrel.
Is there like nuts all over your floor or like squirrel shit?
Yeah, it's pretty gross. Yeah, I gotta tell you, I'm sending you the cleaning bill.
Okay, me? I don't know how
Yeah,
this is my problem if you left your window open. The squirrel definitely said you left your window open. That sounds like a you issue,
that squirrel
honestly.
is a liar. I would
Okay,
never open my window. I'm much
okay,
more of an indoor cat.
okay. Interesting, interesting. We'll have to talk about billing later.
Fair enough.
Don't put Henry in touch with the dead squirrel. Gross. No, fair, fair, fair. Maybe. Okay, well, I interviewed the squirrel, to be
Yeah.
honest. So, shall I just interview you now for fun?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. I'm sure
Yeah.
he had to filled you in on most of the stuff about the book, but
Yeah, probably. So again, The Nut House out June 6th.
that's right.
Um, you know, so why don't you tell us about it? As spoiler free as possible, because the
Sure.
the squirrel did say that he was illiterate and hadn't
Yep.
read it. So,
Yep.
yeah.
That's true. Squirrels cannot read.
Yeah.
The Nut House was originally serialized in Cosmic Horror Monthly, and it is the story of Asher Black, who is one of the best nut thieves in the neighborhood of Majestic Forest, and he is a black squirrel. He is runs afoul of the gray squirrels. I think the squirrel might have read or reenacted some of the prequel story about the gray
Yeah, yeah,
squirrels.
he
Anyway,
did. Yeah.
they there's a legend that there's this great cache of acorns somewhere in this house, and Asher is pressured into leading this group into this house, a human's house, and they find out this house was owned by a hoarder, and so getting the acorns is just kind of the beginning of the challenges they have. They have stacks of old newspapers and magazines. There's puddles of water everywhere, and there's this whole menagerie of animals inside there that are pets and strays and even wild animals, and they are all worshiping this death god that is in this house. Whether it's real or not, we leave it up for people to figure out. And so then the squirrels and one chipmunk have to try to
Oh,
find their way out of the house. So it's a little bit of talking animals, it's a little bit of crime, it's a little bit of cosmic horror. I describe it as like if Laird Barron was writing a Don Bluth animated movie, like Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim or something like that.
yeah. Tim says, yet the squirrel was familiar with H.P. Lovecraft. Well, Tim, sometimes knowledge is born from books and sometimes from blood rites enacted under blood moons, you know? Doesn't mean that the squirrel can read. Right, Patrick?
I heard the squirrel was from Rhode Island, so you pick up stuff.
Yeah, it's usually in the water at that point. Yeah, you're welcome, Tim. Please do stand corrected. Francis says, that sounds absolutely amazing. I'm so ready for this book. Yeah, absolutely. So the squirrel did do a reenactment. Probably not good to classify it as a reading, but a reenactment of his life. Oh, Elle says, I love The Secret of Nim and
Heck
Mrs.
yeah.
Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. So do you want to do a reading or shall we continue
Yeah.
on? Yeah?
No, I'm
Okay.
happy to do a reading.
Okay. Well,
Clear these nuts out of the way.
yeah, let me
So
continue to question you though.
okay,
I
lay it
got
on me.
excited. I got excited.
You got ahead of yourself.
Yeah. So, what was your favorite part about writing this or the thought process behind the idea of this book? Any inspirations you want to chat about?
Yeah,
Besides,
well,
yeah.
I mentioned that one. The Red Wall books by Brian
Oh, I
Jakes.
love those books and the TV show.
I didn't watch the TV show, but I read all the books. I was a huge fan. Watership Down, obviously. Those are all kind of a part of it. And then obviously some of the noir stuff, some of the cosmic horror, sort of, like I said, like the Laird Barony type of stuff that all kind of went into the mix for it. And yeah, writing it was fun. This was they at the time, Cosmic Horror at Monthly had put out a call for a serialized story. They wanted to run a I guess like a 5 or a 6-part story. And I said, I want to write this thing about squirrels. I had this idea for a while. And Charles at CHM, he said, yeah, sounds great. And I said, okay, I have to write the damn thing. And I did. And it was, people seemed to like, people who liked it really seemed to like it. And I wanted to have it put out in collected form. It's taken a few years for that to happen. Was able to connect with Undertaker, and they really, were on board with the vision I had. We've got illustrations in the first part of the main story, the Nut House. JC Amberlin, who's a animal artist, she's done these kind of black and white vignette style images at the start of each chapter, and they're great and amazing. It's like really cute animals and also like some gore as well, but all black and white. And then Dakota Marquardt did the cover, and I think she just did a fantastic job. It's, you can see some of it in the background there, but yeah, it's got that kind of watercolory look, and it really kind of hits that animated hand-drawn animation feel that I was going for. So yeah, just really happy with how it's all turned out, being able to have the prequel. I was kind of thinking it like, I don't know if anybody watches the Fargo TV series, the way that they kind of go between eras each season, and they have stories that kind of interconnect. So you'll have a story in like relative present and then a story in the 70s, and there are connections between them. So I wanted to kind of do that here. So the Acorn Run is a story that has some connections to the Nut House, but also some twists to what the characters in the Nut House thought was happening, and kind of reveals what the actual truth was.
Nice. Matt says it was awesome reading them each month, and Rebecca, who is part of the publishing team,
My
uh,
editor,
the editor,
my editor there.
beautiful, talented woman, who I'd had the privilege of meeting in person. The art is gorgeous, custom cover art, also beautiful. Also, I just
Mhm.
want to point out that's you.
Yeah, I mean, I lost
Can
the
you,
ears and
yeah,
I
can you
lost the nose.
confirm? Are you part squirrel?
I,
I definitely didn't Photoshop this at all.
yeah, you caught me on a bad hair day, a bad tail
Yeah.
day.
Okay, so we talked about, are we gonna get a cutout of that? You'll have to ask a P-Barb. I'll send him the file if he wants it.
All right, I got some merch finally.
Yeah, finally. Um, so you talked about like a lot of the inspirations, like being a Watership Down and Nymph and all that stuff. If this was turned into a movie, like one of those like illustrated kind of watercolor movies that traumatized all of us who watched Watership Down as children, um, who would be voicing the main team of squirrels?
That's a great question. So the main team of squirrels are Asher, obviously, who's the main guy. He's kind of on his own. He's an outsider. He's kind of got a tough edge to him, but he's also, I feel like it would probably be like Tom Hardy doing an accent, like some sort of like weird accent. Then you've got the muscle of the gray squirrels, Maple and Birch. I think they'd both be voiced by John Cena. There's 2 John Cenas. And then the chipmunk, she's like this badass lady chipmunk who's a little bit crazy. Gosh, who would it be? I don't know, Michelle Rodriguez. Sure, just do it like lean
Classic
into the
choice. Yeah.
Fast and Furious.
Yeah. The Fast
Um,
and the Nuttiest.
the Fast and the Nuttiest. That's the sequel that it will never happen. And then there's Flippy, who is the um flying squirrel, who's a domesticated flying squirrel who's befriended Asher in um the veterinarian. There's a whole story there, but anyway, he's his friend who's kind of this the innocent. Um, I, I think maybe, and he also speaks in commercials. I just want to say Kieran Culkin for some reason. I like his stuff. And then there's DW, who is the fox squirrel, who's the fox squirrel consigliere of the gray squirrel gang. I think he would probably be who's a good villainy type guy,
Villainy?
like a kind of an asshole.
That's a good question. A Vin Diesel, Grace Daly says. Elle
Yeah,
says Christoph Waltz.
maybe. I think more like
Who's that bald guy who always plays a bad guy?
oh, Mark Strong. He could do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Jason Isaacs. Yeah.
Also, Rebecca says she has formally requested that I make the image of you into a cardboard thing with 2 holes where you put your fingers through and make your fingers legs.
Okay.
Elle
Let's
has
do it.
seconded it, so I will send you the files. You have to
Heck
print
yeah.
it off yourself,
I
but
will.
I
That'll
will
be
send
the
you the file.
come see me for merch at StokerCon, folks.
Yeah, you can have a cardboard squirrel. Patrick Squirrel Barb. Okay.
So yeah, that's the cast that I would
Okay.
use. And when I do this reading, I'm not going to use any of those voices or do any of those
Well,
impressions.
what a letdown.
Sorry. Well, you know,
Okay,
gotta
would
give
it
me the
be
big Hollywood money.
okay, so here's the big question. Would it be live action or CG?
Not CG. I want hand-drawn animation.
Hand drawn. Oh, that's
Yeah, I want it
expensive,
just
yeah.
like old school style. That's
Yeah,
my
really
vision.
just really fuck with children. Because
Yes,
people will see it
absolutely.
and they'll be like, ooh, animated squirrels? Let's definitely show it to our children.
Yeah, or Rotovision. That is
Yeah, okay,
possible. But
Rotovision, also creepy.
I'm here for child trauma. You know,
Yeah.
as a parent, it's like it's good, it's healthy.
Absolutely. You gotta toughen them up, you know?
Yeah, it's like when I watched Return to Oz, it really
Yeah.
did a number on me.
Honestly, in Watership Down, the brutal like rabbit fight scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Man. Okay. Last question before we go into your own reading.
Okay.
So, what are you hoping readers will take away from the Nut House besides thinking about nuts?
Nuts. Yeah, just nuts. Yeah, I set out to do something that I hadn't seen before, but that I wanted to read. Because I thought it was a cool idea. And so I hope people enjoy it. I hope there's you know, characters that they'll come to love and then hate me for, well, I won't say. But you
Oh
know,
no.
things happen. Not everybody has a happy ending, kids.
Oh my God, why would you do that to us? Look, this squirrel's gasping.
Yeah, he's next.
Yeah, he's got to that point in the book. Look at his face.
I just want to break
Alright.
people's hearts. That's my main goal.
Apparently, Jesus. All right. So we'll have you do the last reading and we'll then do the last giveaway and we can have some Q&A with our audience. How does that sound?
Heck yeah. Alrighty.
Okay. Hit us with it, P Barb. P not a squirrel Barb,
Be not a squirrel Barb.
as you're known in the industry.
That is my name. Okay, hold on. Technology.
I'm imagining now this as a cardboard cutout with like little like holes for your fingers on it. That's so weird. I have to make it now.
Yep, see.
Yeah.
Okay, it's loading up here.
Okay.
Okay.
And are you
This
reading
is
from the Nut
I'm
House,
reading
not the
from the
prequel?
Nut House
Okay.
proper, not the prequel. This is
Give us those nuts.
from chapter 1, diving right in. The crew. Asher Black remembers the tree on fire, his family burning as the dry trunk explodes from the inside out. Once brown strips of bark turned white with age, then consumed by orange, red, and yellow tongues of flame, shriveled to sticky black like tar. A greedy predator devours everything in its path, feeding off the air itself. He remembers himself, young, no longer a kit, but not full grown. This previous Asher bounces from branch to branch, ears twitching, trying to pick out the screams of his mother, father, and siblings, all trapped by the relentless inferno. When he closes his eyes, he returns to thick smoke and bright flames, So bright it's like the glowing orb of the suns crashed onto Earth. In memory, Asher runs, seeking the chittering, chattering, squealing voices of his kin. He wants to join them. He runs toward a wall of jagged fire, his hindquarters tensed, tail twitching. He dives into the fire, unconcerned for his safety. Tiny lungs fill with smoke, and black eyes bulge from their sockets. The black fur around his face peels back on one side. Whiskers sizzle to nubs, then to nothing. His fur is stripped bare. Nothing will grow on this half of his face ever again. One part remains black, like the shadows, like the impenetrable wall of smoke that drowns his loved ones before the fire finishes its job. The other half's a wounded pink, raw, like he's regressed to a helpless newborn, unable to open his eyes. He remembers jumping, expecting to go deeper into the network of branches, expecting to find a family member. He intends to sink tiny claws and teeth into black-furred flesh, then pull them to safety. He plans to save them all, going in and out of the fire, not stopping until all are rescued, or he's dead, or the trees collapsed into cinders, soon scattered by the wind and blown across the manicured lawns of the Majestic Forest neighborhood. But he's turned around. The smoke, the insistent tongues of flame, something leads him astray. If it's not one of those things, then it's everything, working together to thwart his efforts. Asher jumps through the flames and the sky appears clear before him. Its blues threaded with silvered filaments of smoke coming from the tree. His limbs pump wildly, but he finds no purchase. He falls, crashing to the singed earth below. He lands on the ground where nothing will grow once the old ash tree and the black squirrel family who called it home are gone. Even as the tree burns to oblivion, Asher's on the ground, the ragged, scorched end of his black tail twitching. He doesn't remember the sleep that follows, or the darkness taking him into its embrace, but they come for him all the same. Asher wishes he were asleep now. Slumber's preferable to getting held upside down by his incomplete tail, courtesy of two of Oakley Gray's heavies. The gray squirrel duo is all muscle and fatty proteins without a kernel of a brain between them. Each gives the remnants of Asher's tail a too tight squeeze. Too tight squeeze. When the black squirrel opens his mouth, his yellow teeth move up and down, side to side in silent screams. But he won't give the bushy-tailed assholes the satisfaction of an actual squeal. The gray squirrels hold him over the open darkness of a drain pipe bolted to the side of a single-story convenience store. The pipe's white metal comes wrapped in vines on the outside, and caked in a slimy fungal growth whose dim neon green illuminates the ragged, rusted edges where the metal twists inward along the pipe's interior. "Please, fellas," Asher says, twisting his body to avoid the sharp edges at the rim of the pipe. "You'll ruin my beautiful face." The two lugs, Birch and Maple, by name and tree of birth, don't laugh. Whatever brain power they've got between them is devoted to the pursuit of tree nut consumption and kicking whatever asses they're told to by their boss, and that's it. At least their fox squirrel handler, DW, watching from the other side of the gutters, click-clacks his tongue against his cheeks, giving Asher's self-deprecating wit some appreciation. Before Asher can thank him, DW's front paws reach across and dig deep into the scruff of the black squirrel's chest. He pulls up hard but keeps his grip tighter still. Asher ends up stretched across the drain pipe's opening. Face to face with the lanky fox squirrel consigliere of the Gray Gang, Asher shuts his mouth. On his own for so long, Asher's talked his fair share of trash, letting those who might want a piece of him know to keep their distance. On the other paw, he's also grown damn good at knowing when it's in his best interest to keep quiet. "We got witnesses who put you by the park benches near the water fountains." Asher stays quiet. "They put you at the spot of one of Mr. Gray's, one of our acorn caches." Again, Asher stays quiet. "Our witness says they watched you dig up and steal our bullshit." Asher knows when to keep his mouth shut, but he doesn't always do it. Caught off guard, DW relaxes his grip on Asher's fur by the slightest degree. But it's enough. The black squirrel kicks off, pushing his hindquarters paws first into the chest of the gray squirrel enforcers, slapping them with the remnants of his tail on his way to freedom. His front claws slash across DW's chest. When he lands, Asher bounces off the gutter and makes hard contact with the black tarred surface of the roof. It's a short-lived, hollow victory. Maple and Birch pounce, pressing their full weight on Asher and holding him fast against the roof's lumpy darkness. If it wasn't for the pink scar tissue on his face, the roof would make for the ultimate camouflage for the black squirrel. What's that again, Ashy? I said it's bullshit. There ain't no way anyone caught me digging up those acorns. He shrugs, trying to get Maple and Birch to loosen their grip, but it ain't happening. DW grins, like one of the feral cats stalking the tall grasses between the older Majestic Forest houses. So you admit you did steal our nuts. Buddy, someone stole your nuts a long damn time before I came around. This time when DW lashes out, his claws slice through the pink tissue on Asher's face. This time the black squirrel does scream. DW wrenches back, keeping hold of Asher's skin. Struggling, Asher moves his head from side to side, still trying to hold back from the extreme response his pain wants him to have. Asher wants to make sure the fox squirrel's claws don't dig too deep a gouge into the side of his face. DW gives a slight tug, as though to say, "You done? Had enough?" Asher responds with silence. Let me ask you again. Do you admit to stealing the acorns we buried by the benches on behalf of Mr. Gray? Asher remembers the tree on fire, his family burning. He remembers jumping through the flames and finding blue skies and loneliness. Remembering, he nods. Yeah, I took 'em. Figured you all had enough to spare. The bell on the convenience store door rings below. Ding dong. Someone's coming, or going. Human musk wafts up to the squirrels. Cooked meats in plastic wrap. The rich, heady aroma of coffee. Dried bubble gum, shoved sticky into door jams and solidified by the passing summers, providing a sickly sweet note at the end. A scratching from farther back on the rooftop brings all 4 squirrels to attention. Maple and Birch get off of Asher, but he doesn't run. Instead, he stands back to back with the others, tails twitching against tails, ears twitch, noses twitch, eyes move everywhere, searching for the source of the interruption. Everyone's on high alert. Everyone's on edge. But when the source reveals himself, Asher alone remains tense. The other 3 relax, letting out a hearty, "Hello, Mr. Gray." Where his enforcers are thick and muscle-bound, and the fox squirrel consigliere he adopted into the gray squirrel fold is lean and wiry, Oakley Gray is pleasant and plump. He doesn't so much skitter to the gutter as he hops. He lands heavy on his back paws, tail sweeping debris behind him as he moves. "Mr. Black, it's been so long." Asher mumbles his greeting, even as thin trickles of blood run down his face from the spots where DW's claws got stuck moments before. Oakley approaches with forelimbs stretched wide, heading for an awkward embrace. "I trust my associates relayed the information we received about the crimes you committed against my property." Asher opens his mouth, but the tiny red dots on DW's claws let the black squirrel know he's reached a point where it's in his best interest to shut the hell up. So he nods his head in the affirmative instead. Good, good, the boss squirrel continues. His arms close around Asher's shoulders, pulling the black squirrel into his gravity. He presses his bushy maw to Asher's ear. "I'm here to talk about your penance." And that's it.
I'm glad you were able to fend off the squirrels.
They are feisty little squirrels who don't know how to stay in their bed past bedtime.
Cliffhanger, that's right. So I'm going to share again all Patrick's socials and the pre-order link to the Nut House Now, this is the last giveaway for a paperback, which comes with a book plate. But keep in mind, if you pre-order directly from Undertaker Books, get the paperback because you get the ebook as well. Just saying.
Heck yeah.
Tim says, I'm here to talk to you about your pen nuts. Um, yeah, while you were away dealing with the squirrel army, I showed off my chinchilla who's chewing on things, which I
That's
think he
fair.
just tends to do when he knows I'm down here. All right, yes, everyone's hitting me with their drum nose nuts. I'm gonna hit the wheel. And da, 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 da. Our last lucky winner is Grace Daly. Dolly. Yay! Congrats, Grace. Daly. I had it right the first time. Yes. I'm counting that as a win. So winners, I will be getting in touch with you after the event using the email used to register, so keep your peepers out for that. Now we do have a few minutes left if you have some questions for P Not a Squirrel Barb. I'm gonna start. So P Barb,
Yep.
what are you working on now?
Now I am
You're frozen right now, and I'm like,
scripts.
oh, there you are, there you are. Can you start again? You kind of froze for me.
What? You frozen?
I'm frozen?
You hear me?
Who's frozen? I can hear you. Oh, you're back
Okay,
for me.
how's that? Am I
Everyone
back?
was frozen. Everyone was frozen. Okay, what are you working on now?
Okay. What am I working on now? I'm working
Yeah.
on edits on 2 novel manuscripts that are with my agent right now. It's kind of cool. And I am working most directly on a nonfiction essay about the Wolfman from the Universal Monsters, as my thesis being that the Wolfman is the central protagonist of the Universal Monsters um, universe, and he's also, his main trait is that he wants somebody to kill him. He's a suicidal hero, basically. So
Interesting.
working
And
on
it's
that as a
nonfiction?
nonfiction essay. Yeah.
Okay. Eric says, what's your favorite short you've ever written?
There's 2 answers to that, because one is, I think, my most popular well, I say popular, people think it's sad. It's Haunting Lessons. I think it's certainly gotten me a lot of recognition and sort of opened doors as well. I've also sold books off of reading Haunting Lessons. I did a reading where I read that, and then people came and bought books. So that's probably my best, because that led to me getting money.
Yeah, nice. We love money in this house.
Heck yeah, I love money. Um, and I'm also, there's another story I have called Home for a Spell, which hasn't found a publisher, it hasn't found a home yet, that I'm really fond of. And I think that's another good one. It's sort of a um, almost cozy fantasy, but it also has some darker elements underneath. So I hate to say the cozy word, but it's like, yeah, that one's up there as well. And then I like anything I write with like slashers and stuff, because I have fun with those.
Fair. Elle wants to know why squirrels, say as opposed to possums, mice, raccoons, chinchillas.
Yeah, okay. First of all, I'll tell you why not possums. When I was in college, I was imbibing some adult beverages. I was 21, obviously. Um,
Obviously.
and I was going to a place where a party was. Um, and I looked down and I'm like, oh, look at the puppy. And I go to pet this thing, and it hisses at me. It's a goddamn possum. It scared the shit out of me. So that traumatized me. I know possums are lovely, but that, no, not possums. Raccoons, I was walking through Central Park when I lived in New York. Raccoons are way bigger than you think. This thing was like a bear. And yeah, so no to raccoons. Also, when I lived in California, this gang of raccoons would come out to the back of the house we were renting. There was a bunch of grapes up there, and they would just have like a grape party and just throw grapes on the ground and just like sounded like somebody was trying to break in. So that was my experience with raccoons. And then as far as what was the other one?
Chinchillas
Mice.
then,
Oh yeah, mice,
or mice. Yeah.
chinchillas. I got no real opinions. I thought squirrels are fun. They got little tails. They got personalities. There's a
Yeah.
albino squirrel in my neighborhood who's pretty badass. So,
Matt makes a good point. Aren't you supposed to do that at a grape party, like throw grapes around?
yeah, but I didn't get an invite, so fuck them.
Fair. Okay, so it's really just a rejection.
I'm a
Yeah.
hater.
Okay, fair, fair. Grace wants to know, would you recommend reading the prequel first or second?
Second,
Second,
I
because it
would say.
explains a bit. Yeah.
It explains a bit, but it also kind of turns things, and so they're intended to be read first the Nut House and then the Acorn Run.
No, that's fair. Cyan says, they are like Barbie rats. Is that like two chinchillas? I would say they're kind of I always call my chinchilla kind of like Godzilla because he's got quite a bit of attitude for being so small.
Godzilla the Chinchilla. It's
Yeah,
great.
like in his heart, he's a kaiju, even if on the outside he's the size of a small rabbit. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we can wrap up there. We're a little over time. I don't know if you noticed, but I was helping you out. I was cleaning out your nose there.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I guess look out for custom merch if you're going to Stoker, because I'm gonna try to get Patrick his little cutout of himself.
Fantastic.
Yeah, with the little
Can't wait.
finger holes, I guess.
Yeah, if you could pick my nose or
Yeah.
no legs, and then yeah, you could pick my nose if you
Yeah.
wanted to.
And then yeah, you will
could
be
pick your
Patrick's
squirrels.
legs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Rebecca, happy to always host. And
Yes,
thank you,
so much. Thank
Patrick.
you everybody
Yeah,
for
even
coming
though you
out.
showed up late. You know,
Yeah, I think I heard the squirrel did an okay job though. It's
yeah,
what
I think the
I
squirrel did pretty good. I wish the squirrel had some socials, but if not, you know, people can
a
just follow
squirrel
you.
at atree.com.
Yeah, yeah. And again, if you didn't win a copy, be sure to buy one. If you buy it directly from Undertaker Books, you do get the ebook included with the paperback. So you get both. So highly recommend that. And follow Patrick if you haven't. Who knows, there might be squirrel escapades at Stoker if we're lucky.
Oh, can I add one more thing
Yep.
before we go? There is also a Spanish language edition coming in
Ooh.
September from Dimensiones Ocultas, La Casa de las Nueces. It is yeah, that's the Spanish version. So look for that one. I think it's coming out around September.
Yeah,
if all
so if you
goes
want the
according to plan.
Spanish nuts, they're available now.
Spanish nuts.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Patrick, and congrats on your book coming out soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us Friday night. Yay. And if you know of somebody who might want to watch a squirrel reenact its trauma, I will be putting this up on YouTube, so be sure to share it.
I'll have to
And
check it out.
yeah, it was a pretty good one. Yeah. La
Thank you
Casa
for
de las Nueces.
that's
I'm not
it.
very, yeah, thank you. But yes, until next time, my lovelies, as they used to say on this Canadian thing, keep fit and have fun. Bye.
Bye.